Thanks, everybody. Oh, whoa. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. He is one of the sharpest minds in late night, and his Comedy Central show, The Jim Jefferies Show, returns March 27th. Let's take a look at a clip.
I found 4 members of the White House press corps in a Washington, D.C. bar in the middle of the day.
So you all work for different outlets. Do you all get along?
The White House press corps is a pretty close-knit group because when you're really in it, you travel so much together with the same people around the world, seeing them day after day.
How much inner fucking is going on?
Oh, dude, -3. Is that a term?
You've all got to be having sex with each other.
I have not had sex with anybody at this table.
Can I? No. This table, no chemistry.
Everybody, please welcome Jim Jefferies.
Very nice.
Mr. Jefferies.
Yes.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I got told I was doing radio all day, so I didn't dress up. So.
You look great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, the jacket kind of matches. It's great. It's all great. It kind of
That's
matches.
what you want to hear about your clothes. Everything kind of matches. There's a picture of me that I have to sit next to the entire time where I look thinner than I do now with one eyebrow. Every single publicity photo of me is just like one eyebrow. And what people don't know is as a child I had a stroke, and that's why... I did. Why are you laughing now?
It's not
That's what happened. That's what happened to Sylvester Stallone. That's why he has
Is that true?
Yeah, he had like a mild stroke when he was a kid, and we all tease him and do that impersonation. The guy has an actual physical difficulty, and we mock the hell out of him.
People do that to his face too. Like people meet him like, hey, he's sly. And he's like,
Hey, oh, good. Hey, I hear you had a tough childhood and you almost died.
Well, I think the fact that he can bathe himself in millions of dollars probably makes up for all of that.
The fact that he can bathe himself is just really nice.
For that stroke.
Not even. It was the weird thing about Rocky was that with everyone else after fights gets dumber and dumber, and the football injuries with the heads, but Rocky got more intelligent as the films went along. Like he started Rocky 1, he was really dumb. Then Rocky 2, he's dumb and wasting all his money. By Rocky 3, he's like a fucking scientist. He's really intelligent and making good credit card commercials and speaking perfectly. By Rocky 4...
He's the voice of reason.
He's fixing the Cold War. Right? He's fixing the Cold War. And then we get to Rocky 5, he's losing... Then Rocky 6, or Rocky... dumb again. He just had a sweet spot of 7 years in the middle where his intelligence picked up and then he went back to stupid.
I always forget about Balboa. I always see 5 and then Creed, but there's that Balboa one there.
There's Balboa, which is... Balboa is a beautiful movie. It was a really nice movie. And then Creed. And now for the new Creed, I know this is what you brought me on the show to talk about. And in the new Creed, they're bringing back Ivan Drago, Dolph Lundgren.
Are they really?
Yeah, he's been working out. Ivan Drago's gonna fight like Apollo Creed's son. It's like, I kill all your family. I don't know what it is.
Perfect timing for that, right?
Well,
Some Cold War.
The Russians are playing up again. Yeah. It's like at the moment what Trump yesterday said, he congratulated Putin on his election win. And people were like, oh, but this was a rigged election. I'm like, yeah, like this election was definitely influenced by Russians. There's no debate that there was some Russian interference in the Russian election.
What is it? Do you enjoy having to cover Trump every week and having to write jokes about him every week? Is there something cathartic about it, or does it get?
Don't. I wish we didn't have to, because people always say, because when I got the show, we were still in the election. I assumed I'd be doing jokes about Hillary. And everyone always goes...
But you have to work a little bit harder for, I think, sometimes.
No, not as much as you think. She has a philandering husband. The thing about Hillary is she wasn't funny. Yeah. And it's fun to pick on people who aren't funny. You know, it's fun to just pick on anyone, really. If you can take anything from this interviewing, I'm all for bullying. But she wasn't funny, so she would have been an easy target for certain things. But I would rather be talking about social issues. I would rather talk about the gun debate and what's happening with the school shootings outside of having to talk about stupid things that Trump has said. You know what I mean? I don't want to do every show that Trump took a shit today and wrote a really outrageous tweet, but you can't ignore it. Yeah. And so all these shows, all the people on the right now are going, all these shows are just Trump bashing. And we don't really want to bash Trump. I don't want to. I'd rather Trump bash his policies or things that are going on or social issues that he is implicated in, rather than he said something stupid. He called Kim Jong-un little rocket man. You know, but you wake up in the morning, you're about to do your show, and he goes, little rocket man. You're like, fuck, that's my show today. I have to, I can't ignore it. Now I have to remember the lyrics to the Elton John song to write a joke, and that's where we're at.
And then with the gun debate, it's kind of, you know, instead of being able to have a sober conversation about it, we have to talk about the crazy proposal of his that is not going to happen and is totally insane.
That teachers should have guns?
That teachers should all have guns, and that they should receive bonuses if they get guns. Like,
yeah, well, it's you got to write it into, like, they don't have the school funding to give textbooks, so I don't know how we have the school funding to give guns.
You don't know America, my friend.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I think there's a way out of this. I think if you go like we're always going to get guns, they're always going to fund guns, then the teachers have to be more creative. So when they're asking for more textbooks, we need more gun textbooks. we need some gun erasers. Some gun supplies. If you put gun supplies, you can get anything sent to the school.
Right.
And the idea of the teachers having guns. Look, at the moment, my opinions on gun control. Like, I come from a country where they banned guns and it worked out, and we haven't had a mass shooting since the early '90s when we had our last mass shooting. There hasn't been one since. It may be a coincidence. Who knows? But it happened. It happened.
You don't actually believe that it's a coincidence.
Well,
right?
it could be, but it coincided. It coincided with when we banned guns that we had less shootings. But America's not going to ban guns. It's never going to happen. They're not going to ban guns. You have too many guns already, and it's like, all right, prove me wrong. Give all the teachers guns. Give them all guns. Let's see if it fixes it. If it does fix it, I will be happy to hold my hands up and go, turned out that more guns fix the gun problem. But doing nothing hasn't worked for us yet. Thoughts and prayers haven't seemed to work for us yet. So, but I remember back to school, I don't believe that a teacher wouldn't have shot me. You know,
yeah, I've had that same thought.
Like several times I had dusters, like blackboard dusters that had wooden backs on them, thrown at my temple. Yeah. Just in anger, just, boom, like this. Like a teacher who, in modern day society, and even then if I knew more, could get sued and all that type of stuff. But I think if a teacher has a 40-year career teaching kids, there's little bastards in that fucking class. There's people, am I allowed to swear on this show?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I feel like I checked that a little late. But...
Less than halfway through. Now we can start swearing.
Yeah, but there's teachers, if you lose your shit one day out of 40 years, that's a good record. Yeah. Right? It's a good record. Unless you have a gun, well, then that's a real stain on your teaching career if you lost your shit and you had a gun. And also, a lot of teachers are just really old. Just really old people. You want them to fight against an AR-15 with a pistol or something? I'm not quite sure. So I reckon just give the students guns, give the teachers guns, the cafeteria ladies, they get, like, that was very
custodial engineers.
The cafeteria people. I never remember a cafeteria man, though. When I went to school, I assume they work now. Probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think men have been allowed into the cafeteria workforce.
Yeah.
We've put that wall.
Where is the Me Too campaign for the men who cannot work in the cafeteria?
Are guns really coming from Australia? Are guns the sort of craziest thing in America that you like? Why can't you get a handle on this?
They're not the craziest thing in America, but it's something so distinctively American that other people from other countries can't really wrap their brain around it. And it's like your election. See, I grew up in what you would consider a right-wing house in Australia, but right-wing views in Australia aren't more financial, or whether we give welfare to certain people or what have you.
Kind of what the Republican Party was about 25 years ago.
Where it seems like every election to me now is like abortion and guns. Do you agree with abortion? Do you disagree with abortion? Are you trying to take my guns? And I feel like a lot of stuff is just being slipped. Like, do you know, America, and why the fuck aren't you outraged by this? You're the only country in the free world that gives 2 weeks holiday. Yeah. Everyone else gives 4. If you have a full-time job, you get 4 weeks holiday. Germany gives 8, France gives 6. You're rocking out with 2. Why aren't you fucking rioting in the street? At the end of your career, that's 2 years of your life has been taken away by the workforce. But thank God I got myself my gun so I can protect my family. And I can, you know, that the Republican idea that they're so anti-abortion that all life is precious unless it steps on my property. Right. You know, it's me that's what you should be angry about. You have no holidays, or as you call them, vacations.
All life is precious unless it's somehow needs a check from the federal government for social services.
Yes. Everyone should be born. Once you're born, you're on your fucking own.
Yeah, I think that's one of the issues, though, of why people don't riot in the streets about 2 weeks vacation, though, is that
they don't have the time. They don't have enough time off work.
There's no safety.
They have to.
There's no safety net, though. There's Australia, Europe. Everybody has a slight social safety net.
The American dream is if you work hard, you can achieve anything. But if you fail, you're fucked. Right, and this is something about the whole idea of the American dream. Now I'm going to become an American. I'm trying to become. I love this country. But this whole idea that that's your dream, that the American dream. What do you think the rest of us are doing?
Yeah.
That's the dream for everyone in the human race. You work hard, you save your money, you might get a house, and you might achieve your goals. That's
functioning society.
Yeah. Every other society isn't going, oh, I guess if I work hard, nothing will happen. No, we all agree that hard work leads to good things. And, you know, the simple rule of life, you get what you give. Treat people as you want to be treated, and you'll get it in return. I don't believe in karma because karma's bullshit. It's wishy-washy crap that if you think that bad people will get bad things happen to them, that doesn't always happen. It doesn't always. Sometimes they get to become president, right?
And we're still hoping on karma, you know? We're still going, come on, karma.
Yeah, karma's going to happen to this guy.
It's going to be even worse when it comes in now.
One day, the karma's going to happen to this guy, and he'll only be worth $5 billion and won't be president. That'll show him. But I do believe you do good, you'll get good.
So going into the second season of the show that you're jumping into now, right? Well, going into the second season, what were some of the? It's good, right?
Yeah, there's a they told me before. There's a gymnasium upstairs. Right then, a steroid-bound man just broke a collarbone. we just heard that happen. His mate was like, "I'm spotting you, dude," and then he just dropped it. That's a dead guy.
What were some new ideas going into the second season? Obviously, you know, you shoot in a studio a lot, you're doing commentary, but were there some sort of fresh ideas that you guys had for packages?
Our show's different from, say, John Oliver's or Samantha Bee's show in the sense that I do all my own field pieces. So this is why the show has been a little later getting onto air than those other shows, because I had to go out and film 10 field pieces, and we went off and we filmed things. We did a field piece in Holland where we talked about how sex robots are going to take over, and I met the 2 oldest prostitutes in the world. This is great. I know it's a Dutch name, but their name's the Fokken. the Fokken twins, right? And they're identical twins who still work the red light district, and they've been doing it since the 60s. They've been working there. Their arthritic hands are shaped into what's going on. Now, one of them, I'm sure they've been interviewed a lot. Now, one of them's names is Lucy Fokken, and she comes up to me and she goes, "I'm Luce Fokken, the oldest prostitute in the world," and she did not find that, she didn't see the humor in that. I'm like, "Your name's Luce Fokken, and you're the oldest prostitute in the world." I go, "That's funny, right?" She goes, "Why would that be funny?" I go, "I have no idea."
Did you ever explain it to her why it was funny?
Look, my time ran out. I gave her the money and I went home. No, I tried to, and you know what? After meeting, they were very nice ladies. They had a lot of good stories. They had a great attitude about the whole thing. We also did a piece in. I did a gig in Tel Aviv, so we built a field piece in Israel around that. About circumcision, and I met like the one Jewish guy who's really angry about getting the end of his dick cut off. Not all of our stuff is sex related. They're just the 2 I wanted to talk about right now.
Why is he so angry?
I don't know. He's just not happy with the end of his dick, I suppose. I don't.
So he did get circumcised, and he's upset about it.
He was circumcised as a child, and now he feels like it's mutilation or something like that. I'm circumcised, and I always find it weird when you mention.
As am I.
Okay, this is the deal. It's better. It is better, right? Now there is arguments against it, but this is a fact that I'm going to tell you that will just prove my point, right? There has never been a dildo, a vibrator, or any sex toy that has been sold with a foreskin. No one has ever bought a dildo and went, I want an extra bit of rubber hanging out over the end.
But I've got to kind of...
Name me one time in history where extra skin on a human being was a good thing. Where like an old person got that turkey neck thing and went, ooh, I've been looking forward to this. Oh yeah, women love extra skin. Or like when some 500-pound person loses 300 pounds, look at that big elephant ear of skin, and the doctor doesn't go, I'd keep that if I was you. It's so appealing on a human, extra hangy skin. Evolution's waiting to catch up on the end of dicks, I'll tell you that much.
Isn't circumcision though also good for like diseases and bacteria and stuff like that? Is that a thing?
Sure, I can't even imagine the amount of more diseases I would have caught with it. like the amount that I've already gotten, I feel like that would be outrageous, my foreskin diseases. No, they reckon that you have a far less chance of getting HIV or AIDS or whatever or something. I assume. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor. I think I should tell you this right away.
Shit, really?
That I have very little qualifications. The fact that they gave me a TV show to talk about anything is outrageous, and it shows how irresponsible Comedy Central can be.
What was your pitch for the show? Was it the fact that you're coming from a perspective of sort of a kind of American but an Australian?
I would like to tell you that I had a pitch, but they brought me in for a meeting, and they went, you kind of look like John Oliver without glasses. That's a plus. No, I don't. I just said I wanted to do a late night show, and I wanted to do international field pieces was the big difference. You know what I mean? I had a routine that went viral about gun control, and then after that I became somewhat of a social commentator on stage. You know, but I don't think that shows like mine or John's or Samantha they call them news-based comedy shows. They're not really news at all. Because news in America isn't news anymore. It used to be, because I just spent some time in Europe, and the news is like this in Europe. You watch it, they go, this is what happened today. And they go, da-da-da-da, they tell you all the facts.
Fucking great.
Yeah, and in news in America, the two major channels, Fox and CNN, and now we bring on our commentary people, and they all talk and discuss what they think. And so news now in America has become an opinion piece. Yeah. And so, like, if you want to watch something like Hannity and say that's a news show, no, it's not. It's a guy giving opinions. And so my show isn't a news show. It's a comedy opinion piece.
There was you said after this stand-up piece that you did about gun control, you became somewhat of a social commentator. Was that reluctantly, or were you excited to kind of take on that?
I had gotten older and had issues that I wanted to talk about. It wasn't a reluctant thing. I don't think that I was mature enough or smart enough in my 20s to be able to do that. So the stand-up in my 20s was all stories about one-night stands and taking drugs and stories from my childhood and stuff like that. And so once you stop having one-night stands, once you stop taking drugs, once all your childhood stories are gone, you better talk about something. So I started going, oh, well, this is what I don't like about the world. This is what I do like about the world. But to be honest with you, I was a fairly selfish guy in my 20s, you know. I only cared about causes that affected me. And then in like my early 30s, I remember there was like a pivotal moment where I went on a march in Britain when I was living in London for gay marriage. And I thought, this will never affect me, but I felt like it was an equality thing that I had to get involved with. And that's when I started getting more protesty in my life, you know.
I'm curious, you had not an incident, but a thing on Bill Maher with, was it Piers Morgan?
Yeah,
right?
I hate Piers Morgan.
Yeah, well, did he know beforehand that you hated him? Did you talk to him in the green room at all?
I assumed he did, because 99% of the population hates him. True. No, Piers Morgan's, he's a bit of a prick, really. And the thing is, we both have the same opinion on guns. I think he always got a little pissed off that I was the other foreign guy who was talking about guns in America, so he had a chip on his shoulder or something. But he had said some things on Twitter about me or what have you, and We'd had little Twitter
He
arguments.
did.
and
I
stuff.
didn't realize that was a part of it.
Oh, no, this
beforehand.
is way beforehand. And we'd never met. And then I was doing the Bill Maher show, and I put out the most sort of bland tweet ever that was like, hey, everyone, I'll be on the Bill Maher show tonight. Please watch, you know, whatever. And then he sent me a message underneath that said, I'll be sitting 6 feet away from you. Bring your A game. And I thought to myself, if I get one opening with that cunt, I'm going to take it. And I did. I did, and I just gave him the finger and told him to go fuck himself. And then which is childish. Of course it's childish. But the audience all started applauding, and I thought, oh, this is an easy thing to do.
Because everybody hates Piers Morgan.
Everyone, but even talking about him now, he's happy because he just needs to be, because quintessentially the guy's talentless. He was an editor at a newspaper, which he might be good at that, who knows. But he was never meant to be a celebrity or a person who was interviewed or a person who was meant to have a talk show. He was an editor at a newspaper, and he got his little window, and I think he swims in the pool of people hating him. He just loves that. So even now, you're probably masturbating, Pierce, right now, just watching this. Probably jacking off to yourself, you fucking low-life prick. Anyway, so what do you...
It's so weird because then he's jacking off to that too.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the insult of him jacking off to himself, he's probably jacking it harder,
Yes,
right? Like
yes, probably.
the layer or levels of just kind of.
He's just an intensely unlikable guy. But you know what? We need villains, and if he wants to be on my show, he can come on my show. I guess I don't know. I don't. It's not like if I saw him in a bar, I'd go, "Come on, Pierce, let's have a beer." And then we'd have a little conversation. It's not like I'd throw daggers at the guy or anything like that.
Who would you throw daggers at if you could?
Oh, there's plenty of ex-girlfriends. There's plenty of relatives. You know what I mean? But no famous. I just. This is funny. I just stupidly. I hate Johnny Cash. I'll give that. Right.
Really?
I think if Johnny Cash was alive, I would be disappointed. I think Johnny Cash is the most overrated person in the history of entertainment. And if I have to hear one more people go, he had a career that spanned 40 years. I'm like, with 3 fucking songs, right? And everyone's like, everyone calls their kids Cash and all that type of stuff. And then he gets credit for such rubbish. They go, oh, the man in black. What? Because he wore a black shirt and jeans because he was a bit fat and he wanted to look slimming. And then they get excited by, oh, Johnny Cash and his catchphrase. His catchphrase was, hi, I'm Johnny Cash. Oh, how did you come up with it, Johnny? That must have taken months to crack the code on your whimsical fucking catchphrase. And then it's like, oh, what about when he did that cover, you will have your way. It's like it's a drunk guy mumbling into a microphone, which you can make a career out of, by the way. Anyway, so I just think the guy gets too much credit. It's like Ring of Fire, all right, and then it's like Folsom City Blues, and then it's called like A Boy Named Sue. And whoever sat and listened to A Boy Named Sue and just went, oh, this is I've just never been on Sunset Boulevard, had a convertible pull up to me, and then the music's blaring and all I hear is dun 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 dun. Never, no one listens to him. Everyone loves him. If you are a Johnny Cash fan, you're a fucking liar. They don't exist. You have your T-shirt where he's given the finger and go, oh, yeah, cutting edge. The guy was useless. Anyway, that's what I should have said in an interview I had recently. I was doing an interview with, and I'd like to apologize because the interview is coming out, so I feel like this is a good time for me to apologize about this. They said to me in an interview, who do you dislike most in entertainment? This is for Playboy, just a print interview. And I could have said Piers Morgan or Johnny Cash. And, you know, Piers Morgan already hates me. Johnny Cash is dead. He's not going to do anything. And I thought they would have been good answers. But for some reason, I attacked Josh Gad. Now, I really don't have anything particularly against Josh Gad. When he's in a movie, I'm not excited or whatever. I think he gets far too much press because he was good in the Book of Mormon. My problem with Josh Gad is that somehow he always figures out how to sing in a movie. He could be in any movie. It's got to be in his contract where he goes, and I get to sing a song. The movie Pixels with Adam Sandler, somehow he gets to sing. He could be in the movie Sophie's Choice. and Josh Gad would figure out a way to sing a fucking song, right?
I think it's funny you've seen Pixels.
My son loves the movie Pixels. It's actually not as bad as people say. It's on Netflix, and we watch Pixels every now and again because there's a big Pac-Man eating cars. What's not to like?
I had to see it in the theater.
But we have to skip past Josh singing. Anyway, so the point is, I don't really hate Josh Gad. I'd seen Pixels the day before. I'd gotten a little bit upset about him singing a song in it. So in the Playboy interview, I do attack you, Josh. It's not warranted, and I'm really sorry, and I hope you're okay, mate. You're not as bad as Johnny Cash, and you're definitely not as bad as Piers Morgan.
What a nice thing to
that's
hear.
the smallest compliment I can. But the thing is, I'll probably bump into him. He's probably the nicest guy in the world. Like, who picks on Josh Gad? Like, who goes, I have a beef, and it's with Josh Gad?
It is also such a weird, I mean, to say that you're not as bad as Piers Morgan is like, oh, I get that, but then to be like, you're not as bad as Johnny Cash. Very few people are gonna understand that because everybody loves Johnny Cash.
No, they don't. They just think they love Johnny Cash.
Exactly.
Name me 6 Johnny Cash songs.
I cannot name you five of those would probably be covers.
Yeah.
Because
and 40 years. What the fuck were you doing, Johnny? What did you do with all that time? Now, right now, in this audience of 20 people, there's someone who's outraged. They're just going, no, and then he wrote this. Blah, 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 blah. Go home, listen to Johnny Cash.
I've never been able to get through a full album. I've tried. I can't.
I don't know if he has a full album. I don't know if you could put enough tracks on to make a full album. I think you'd run out, you go, we got 4 albums, we got 4 songs, that's Johnny done.
Let's get questions from our audience. What do we have here?
Who are we looking at? Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what did you do?
Jeez. So I love your stand-ups.
Thank
Seen
you.
all the specials probably at least 10 times. Always make me laugh. I was wondering if you could kind of walk us through your process of workshopping jokes and figuring out which ones finally make it to the stage.
So what I do is once I record a special, I never do the material again. So you always have that little bit of panic after a special. There's always like a few months grace period between the time the special's recorded and when it airs. And so and I'm in that period right now where I can do all the old jokes. But then come July, after the special is in June, I've got some gigs, and I'm terrified of those gigs right now. So at the moment, I'm writing like crazy. Now, when I say writing, most comics will do like either write their jokes like down in a book, or they'll write a set list where they write each word down, and that'll prompt them to go after stories. I've never written anything down for stand-up. What I do is, because most of it's story-based, what I do is I get a kernel of idea. I don't openly try it out. I must be irritating to my friends because I'll be in a bar drinking, and then I'll just tell this long-winded story, and I see if they laugh and where the laugh points are. And then I'll tell that story on stage, or I'll riff on a certain subject or a topic on stage. And so most of my writing is done on stage. Now, I have the privilege of having a career at the moment where I'm doing my own shows. I'm not in comedy clubs, right? So my shows go for about an hour and 40 minutes. So I feel like if the show's going good and the audience is warm, I can dick about for about 20 minutes in the middle and try out some stuff. And if it works really well, I don't even mention it. Or if it doesn't go well, I just say to you, sorry, that was some new stuff. And then I get back into some strong material. Now, what I don't get about what other comedians do is they're always like dropping in at the Comedy Store to try out a new 5. And I couldn't think of anything worse than just doing 5 minutes of pure new material that isn't wedged between jokes that I already know work. I don't know if that makes sense. Now, as for how do you come up with it or whatever, for me it's more just like turning my brain on, like this is a necessity now. I got to start thinking of things that might be funny. And it's a lot of taking a shit, having a shower, and those moments when you're by yourself and you're thinking in your car.
Daydreaming.
Yeah, daydreaming. Where things just sort of seep in and seep out. Now, part of the problem with not writing anything down is, me personally, I can't watch other comedians, because if I start watching other comedians, all of a sudden a joke I'll wake up and think I've written something, and I'm like, oh, wow, that came quickly. And if something comes too quickly, then you got to start asking your friends. You go, has anyone said this joke before? Is this an original idea or what have you? And often it's not, or sometimes it is. But yeah, I try to keep sort of isolated and just thinking. There's no easy answer to it. I know other comedians do actually sit down and go, all right, I'm going to write a joke today, but that's never been the way that I've done it. But for the TV show, I do have to do it that way. On the TV show, we get into a writer's room and go, today we're writing jokes. And it's slightly different for the TV show because you're like, this is the topic we're talking about now. When you're thinking of other jokes, there's no topic that's off limits, whatever happens to you. I have started just recently, like if something happens in the middle of the night, keeping a pad and pen by the side of the bed to write down just a word. But sometimes those words can be really weird and you're coming down off Xanax and you've had a sleep or you're hungover and those words can make no sense whatsoever.
Next question.
Hi, radio.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. So I think you may have sort of touched on the answer to my question. I was going to ask you when are we actually going to see some new stuff from you, either online or touring?
June there'll be a new special coming out. At the moment we've called the special "This Is Me Now," and that's a punchline to one of the stories. And we filmed it in London at the Hammersmith Apollo. I'm going to say 6 weeks ago or something like that. You know, it was. I like the special a lot. It's much more like my older specials than it is like my last two. I feel like I talked about politics and social issues so much in the last two, and now I talk about it so much on the TV show that this is more just story-based again, you know, so it's all like long-winded stories. And I used to do a lot of stories about my childhood. Now I just mind my actual child's childhood. But sometimes I'll let you in on a little secret because people don't want to hear you talking about my kid said something funny, my kid said something this, something that. And so I had my kid did a stupid thing story, and then I thought it made me sound a little bit too Ray Romano-y or something like that. Well, not that there's anything wrong, but it was just not my brand. And so there is one story in this new special where I lie and I say that it's from my childhood, but it's not even me at all. I just nicked it from my son.
A couple more questions. Next question.
Hi, Jim.
Hi.
I'm a new comedian and a big fan of the stand-up, the legit, and the news show.
And you're the only person to stand up to ask the question. See, you're already fucking learnt the first step.
When you write stand-up, you have a year or more, whatever, to write it, work on it. But with the talk show, you have, I'm guessing, a week or whatever the time is.
A few days.
Whatever it is. How do you know you're going to finish in time in that amount of time versus
stand-up? Because I don't write it all by myself, and we have 8 writers, and we have, always in our back pocket, we have a few evergreen pieces that we can talk about all the time. So whether it be something on healthcare, you can talk about that in week 4 or week 8 or whatever. So if it's a slow news week, we find one of those stories and we go, all right, bang, we'll talk about this. Or we did an episode on fentanyl and how it's fucking people up in the Midwest or whatever, you know what I mean? So we do that type of piece. But
when was the last slow news week, though?
Well, that's the problem. Yeah. But what I call a slow news week now is trying not to talk about Trump.
Yeah.
And so that's the first rule of the show is let's try not to talk about Trump unless it's absolutely necessary. And it turns out half the time it's absolutely necessary that we do it. But we get it done on time, and Mondays are always a sort of stressful day, and then we get the script, and then I'm not very good with a teleprompt, so I try to memorize it as much as possible so before I get to the show I can do it. I look at John Oliver and Trevor Noah, and you just know they're good at reading. You just know they're the type that have probably read books. And so I'll never be that. So for the show, it's hopefully by Monday night, by the time I go to bed, I've got most of it in me. My biggest fear, and this has happened about 4 times in the 20 episodes we've already done, is you wake up Monday morning, 6 a.m. to go in and do the show, and you turn on your show, and you're like, Trump tweeted fucking what? And then you're like, we have to rewrite the whole thing now. And it's so you just hope, I always hope that Tuesday morning, the world is peaceful and calm. You don't want any shootings or anything with... Actually, look, I'll be honest with you. I don't want shootings any morning. It's not just it's not like I just get to Tuesday and go, oh, good. Hopefully there'll be a shooting on Wednesday that I don't have to worry about. No, I don't want it any time. But you want a very peaceful Tuesday morning news day.
You don't want Trump misspelling counsel or going after Mueller on Twitter or anything like that?
Yeah, something like that. Like, the problem is he fires someone every day. That's the one that you can't keep up with. This person's fired, that person's fired, this person's fired. But it's like for my show at the moment, with the Audrey O'Day, Trump Jr. getting divorced, that's not a story that I'm interested in, or like a story that we would probably talk about. That's just tabloid shit to me.
But he's very fun to make fun of, that Trump Jr.
Not as fun as Eric. Not as fun as Eric. Donald Trump makes two types of children. He makes he makes the Ivankas and the Donald Jr., the maniacal people in the corner, and then he makes Eric, and I don't want to be mean about Barron, right? like I think Barron's becoming an Eric. He's going to be an Eric. And then Tiffany, who knows if
she's an Eric, she's just not in the spotlight.
I don't know. I don't know if she's ever been to the White House yet, if she's been let in or anything like that. I'm sure she doesn't have any. She has less clearance than Kushner.
Donald, Tiffany's here. One more.
Hi. I was just wondering. Since like you did stand up for several years, you've been doing the show for a long time. Yeah. What do you enjoy more, writing stand up or writing for the show?
I prefer doing stand-up to anything in the world, you know what I mean? And acting, I'll include that in acting. But the TV show, because stand-up's fun, you know what I mean? And stand-ups, for the most part, I can't get in trouble too much for my stand-up, you know, and that's why I hate camera phones being in the shows, because things get taken out of context with it. But stand-up's more fun, but I do feel a bigger sense of accomplishment after doing the TV show. I do feel like, wow, that's something that I did with a team of people. I got it all together. Maybe we made a great point that people can use to argue at dinner parties themselves or what have you. So I feel like the TV show is slightly more important, and after being someone who's only worked with themselves for 15 years, to collaborate with other people and to do something as a team has a certain level of satisfaction.
And the show, the Jim Jefferies Show, returns next week, right?
Tuesday, the 27th.
Tuesday, the 27th on Comedy Central. And the special is in June, you said, right?
In June. I haven't been given a date, but you know, like Comedy Central are holding on to that to see if there's any bad press about me. And
Josh Gad comes after you?
Yeah. They're like, we've got a big contract with Josh Gad, and you fucked it up.
Jim Jefferies, everybody. Let's hear it.